How is it that homeowners and real estate investors are able to justify investing in New York, paying higher prices, which is not a landlord-friendly state, and still make the numbers work somehow? On this video, we're going to talk about New York City's hidden gem. Values of 1 to 4 unit properties in New York and its surrounding suburbs have continued to rise over the last couple of years. Now, in New York City and the surrounding areas, it's pretty common to find a property that has an ADU. It is an accessory dwelling unit, or some people will call it an additional dwelling unit. In 2020, one-family properties sold for an average of about $691,000. 2023, that number is at $767,000, a 10% increase. Now, 2 to 4 families saw an even greater jump of about 17% when comparing the same years. Average sale prices went from $812,000 back in 2020 to just under $1 million at about $976,000 today. Because of these steady increases in property values and price point, it raises the bar. It creates a higher barrier of entry to get into this 1 to 4 family asset class. So let's talk about ADUs. ADUs are the reason why many people are able to justify this and make the numbers work and even advance their real estate investment goals. So what constitutes an ADU? Pretty simply, an ADU has to have a separate entrance that connects to the outside of the property. It has to have its own bathroom and its own kitchen space. Now, sometimes you might see an attic space, a garage space, or even a basement ADU that connects to the inside of the unit. This wouldn't be considered an ADU because if you can't access it through the outside of the property, how can you occupy it as a separate unit or even rent it out? So ADUs are used pretty differently here in New York City, in New York City suburbs, and then outside of New York State. Let's talk about some of the differences. So outside of New York, a lot of times you might find ADUs that are built as a completely separate structure to the existing property. Sometimes they're created or added as an extension of the existing property. And even in some cases, they're able to sell the ADU as a separate property. This has become pretty big in California lately, but we're not really at that point in New York. And here it's a little bit different. What do ADUs look like in New York? Most additional dwelling units or accessory dwelling units within New York City's 5 boroughs and the suburbs look exactly like this, meaning it's a basement unit, something beneath the first floor unit. Other ADUs that I've seen here are garage spaces that become a livable space, or even attics. Now, those aren't as common, but there is one pretty cool property that we sold in Queens about 4 years ago that, believe it or not, had a 2-bedroom apartment underneath a 2-car garage. Pretty unique. Now let's talk a little bit more about it. Now, before we get into why house hack investors like to find properties with ADUs, and before we even get into the numbers behind it, how much does it cost? Let's first talk about your why is going to be the most important part when you're considering a property like this. Reason being, it's not always the best living situation. Usually ADUs are a little bit smaller than traditional units in the market, but if you're thinking about your why, if you're thinking about your reason for getting into real estate investing, that will push you through. For some people, their why is just to be able to live in the ADU, save as much money as possible within a 12-month time period, and then use those savings and use that equity that they've built up to get into their next property within a year's time. For other people, they're looking to occupy ADUs like this so that they can significantly lower their living costs. Eventually, they'll be able to quit their job to get into real estate investing full time, go ahead and pursue a different business venture, maybe some kind of passion project. And then lastly, some people just want to occupy an ADU so that they can save a bunch of money and be able to work less hours, to spend more time with their family, to travel the world. So why do house hackers and other investors like ADUs? For one, you can maximize your rental income. This can be done if you lease or occupy the smallest livable space. There are also loan programs that allow you to account for projected ADU rental income, taking about 75% of the projected rental income and applying it to your W-2 or your self-employed income. A bank will now qualify you for a higher loan amount. Some programs even allow for a 3% down payment. This is even lower than FHA loan. There are also programs that do not require the ADU to be filed with Department of Buildings. Conditions on these loan products do apply, so let me know if you want to be connected with an investor-friendly lender. The other main thing, how much is it going to cost? The most accurate answer will come from a contractor who can walk the property with you. Before getting the deal under contract, before bringing in a GC to view the place, you can still inquire about the square footage of the ADU. You can snap photos or videos to give contractors a better idea of the layout and the condition of the space. Renovations can cost anywhere from a couple of $1,000s to dozens of thousands of dollars for more extensive work. This all depends on the size, the ceiling height, the condition, the moisture, whether or not you're going to add another unit to the building. Now, this strategy isn't for everybody. Sometimes the ADU might be a little bit too small. Sometimes you prefer to use that extra living space, maybe for a shared laundry space for all of your tenants, for storage. Maybe you want to make it a gym in the property. For those of us that see the benefits in investing in an ADU like this, the next questions are usually, usually, where do I go to find this kind of property? What is this property going to cost me in comparison to a similar property that doesn't have an ADU? Or what loan options are available for this type of property? For more information on this, please drop a comment below so that we can get in touch that way. You can also click on the Calendly link in the description so that we can talk a little bit more in detail about your specific plans and your goals. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe so that you get notifications for future videos.